they used, but it was such a good word, man. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because it kind of explained, how they did want that power, how they did
it was all
strive for that power, and I
That's-
mean, that was, one of their motivators,
Right.
was that power.
Well, of course, to control it. And then they ousted the naturopaths, stripped them of their ability to, to work with people. And, there's some states now that do allow, naturopaths from 4 schools, but they want to practice a little, they want to do minor surgeries and write prescriptions. And that's not a naturopath. That's not a naturopath.
Right.
So we went through some, luckily in the state of Colorado, a naturopath is still able to work with people. There is the naturopathic doctors that graduated from the 4 schools throughout the country. It's a 4-year program. I don't think a 4-year program makes you qualified to do minor surgeries, stitches, write prescriptions.
What about military service? Can we stitch up then?
The military service? Stitch up,
No.
It's,
I'm sorry, that was...
But, the thing is that it's with still being able, there's still a lot of states where, like, I'm considered now a traditional naturopath, and that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine with me. There's a time and a place for medicine. There's a time and a place for surgery. Absolutely. And I
Right.
hope you have a good doctor. But, the thing is that look at how long a medical doctor or a doctor of osteopath goes to college to be a doctor and then to take a specialty. I'm sorry, if you've got to take medication, I want somebody, if they've got to write a prescription, I want to come in from somebody who's seasoned, somebody who, their education took a lot longer to acquire.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
Than these naturopathic physicians and these naturopathic doctors that they're called in some states. Be careful with that. If you, I have done this for so long that, other than a situation of a broken limb or a critical chronic onset of an illness, absolutely you need a medical doctor. And we're in the information age. So any medication that is given to you, a lot of times you can tell them, there's a history of allergy to sulfa. There's a history of allergy to penicillin. But, there's so many medications out there that, it's really more often than not that even though your chart says allergic to sulfa, the medication that they wrote for you is in that family.
Oh.
And so, you have your reaction to it. And so I don't want to get too sidetracked here on that. I want to get through here and because there's a lot of things that can go on with the large intestine. So kind of back to the process of digestion, starting in the mouth, smelling it. There's the taste buds, the receptor cells, the nerves that involve the different pathways, and there's that part that the tongue does. So we really stop and think about, it's a pretty important organ there, the tongue.
Oh,
and
sure.
There's cultures that look at it that as the tongue as the beginning of the whole digestive tract, and then ending with the rectum.
Well, that
Stop thinking
technically
about it.
is true,
It
because
is.
That's the first thing that the
First
food
thing,
touches.
that's right. So, but we really don't hear a lot about what those taste buds and stuff do, and how does that all really work, So that's how it works. Okay, so back to being able to diagnose from the tongue, the dehydration, and one thing, rule of thumb with staying hydrated is take your weight, divide your weight in half, convert that half to ounces. That's what you need in a day for water, for your body. So, we've always heard, drink 8 glasses, 8 ounces of water. Well, yeah, that's good for somebody who weighs about 130 pounds.
You know what?
So, you're not going to get enough if
wonder.
you weigh more than that.
I got to tell you, I think there's somebody listening to our show that's on TV. And the reason is because this very subject that you're talking about right now, oh my goodness. When she said it, okay, and explained everything, I swear to God, she had gone word for word of what you had said. And I mean, even, yeah, I'll explain it later, but I'm just telling you, this conversation that we're having, because you and I have had this conversation before, and on a previous show, if I'm not mistaken. So, there was, yes,
well,
I'll let you know who
it might be, huh? Well, then, hey, they're learning.
No, I thought it was very cool, but I was like,
honor, but it's
wow,
really?
when she had said this, I was like, I turned to Nancy, I was like, oh my gosh, she must have listened to Dr. Mateo, because, I mean, it was like word for word verbatim how you, said things and went on about it,
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't just it was how she went on about it. It was like, wow.
Well, okay, so back to hydration amount that you need. Okay, so remember, take your body weight, divide it in half, convert that half to ounces, and that's what you need in water. Now, if you're juicing, you can probably cut back on that water a little bit because, if you're pulverizing and blending and breaking everything down so that it's so easy that when you swallow it and the tongue moves that back and triggers the swallowing, that's already a liquid, and so you do count that as fluids going into your body. Okay,
right.
So you can cut back a little bit on the water amount if you're juicing. If you've got 1 or 2 meals a day that you are juicing. Okay, so once we swallow that and the tongue, the little muscle moves everything, moves it around and pushes it to the back, and we swallow, it passes by the pharynx, and that's responsible for closing the windpipe during swallowing. Then that moves that into the esophagus, and in 1 to 2 seconds, liquids are in the stomach. 5 to 9 seconds later, the food is in the stomach. But once you chew that food up and you swallow it and it enters into the stomach, the food is now called a bolus. So it passes through a sphincter valve that if that valve at the bottom of the esophagus into the stomach, if that won't relax, and sometimes it won't relax because you're lacking magnesium. Magnesium is the mineral that is the relaxant. So if that sphincter valve will not relax, then that prevents food from entering into the stomach. So when that valve doesn't, when it's held off and that food's at the bottom of the esophagus, it's not supposed to be there. As that food, you get a lot of pain, distension, distress. So finally, when that opens up and that food passes down into the stomach, there's 4 different chambers of the stomach as well. So lack of magnesium. Magnesium is something that's needed for the nerves and the muscles and soft tissue.
Now people may ask, how can they get magnesium? Sorry about that. I don't know where that came from. I'm sorry.
There's the magnesium. Magnesium foods.
Now, could they not? Because I know this is very cheap. could they not, like, go to Walgreens and grab, like, a
Well-
$1.47 thing of Epsom salt?
Well, Epsom salt is good for them to take, a hot bath in. And the magnesium in the Epsom salts, yes, you can take it internally as well.
Okay,
People,
that's what I was wanting to know.
and look out for that.
Right, but
because
when
what
that,
it does, it relaxes everything.
but that is a good
Yeah.
way to get that type
It
of
can.
magnesium.
Yes.
Is that same magnesium is magnesium, right?
Well, there's different sources of magnesium that are absorbed better into the system and utilized better than some sources. So magnesium, you're wanting at least whatever calcium you're taking. If you're taking 1,000 milligrams of calcium a day, you really need double the magnesium, not half the amount. You need double. So 1,000 milligrams of calcium, 2,000 milligrams of magnesium. Take 500 milligrams of calcium in the morning with 1,000 milligrams of magnesium, and then do that again in the evening.
Very interesting.
Okay. And that magnesium, with it being the relaxant, it helps you to unwind and to be able to sleep. So it's something that is really good for people who are chronic insomniacs. Magnesium is very good for that.
Very interesting.
As well. So then when the valve does the opposite, when it won't close, that's when you get that acid reflux. That's when stuff comes back up from the top part of the stomach, from the
burning
from the
and the
cardia,
nastiness.
the cardia part of the stomach. And what that does then is that it makes its way back up into the esophagus.
And that's called chyme?
Well, the food is called chyme. The bolus. Okay, so the food in the mouth, down the esophagus, into the stomach. It's now, when it hits the stomach, it's called a bolus. Well, actually, when you chew it and swallow it, it's called a bolus. Makes it down the esophagus, 5 to 9 seconds before it lands into the top part of the stomach. And once then that bolus goes in and starts its first process of digestion, if you're eating a raw food diet or a liquid food diet, that takes part in that cardia, that upper part of the stomach. Then it's now called chyme.
Okay.
Okay, so when that chyme comes back up into the bottom of the esophagus or up the esophagus, it's already mixed with some enzymes. And so you've got some digestive acids going on there. And that's not supposed to be in that delicate tissue of the lining of the esophagus. And so it's very irritating and creates inflammation. And if it happens a lot, it can actually start to erode like an ulcer on the wall of the esophagus down there. And, that's called acid reflux. GERDs. Okay, there's a lot of antacids and stuff, over-the-counter antacids, but the problem with that is that throws that digestive tract to acidic. Excuse me, not acidic. It throws it so far alkaline that it's too high alkaline, because it's not good to have a pH acid level that's real low, or below. You don't really want it below 6.5, and you certainly don't want it at 6.0 or lower, your pH. But alkaline, 7.5, 8.0 is really good to maintain that with your body. But if it gets higher than that, if it's running up above 10, that's too alkaline, and that's not good either.
Okay. So there is a happy medium.
There's a happy medium,
Okay.
and the range is not really too wide. Okay, so so that's kind of what that does, and with a lot of that shutting off of the stomach of the hydrochloric acid pumps, that's not good. That's not good either. So you can end up with 20 years of that. You can end up with some very degenerative names for what's going on in your stomach and digestive tract. If you use those over-the-counter things, for a prolonged period of time. So that's not good either.